Picture this, I'm beaming with pride on my own land, hands raw from 3 grueling weekends building this sturdy bridge with my sweat and my hard-earned cash. It's all for my kids, to safely reach their epic tree fort across the creek. Fresh cedar scent fills the air, birds chirping like they're cheering me on. Then, screech, tires on gravel. A gleaming Mercedes, worth more than my neighbor's house, pulls up. Out steps this HOA tyrant in designer $200 yoga pants, clipboard in hand, smirking like she rules everything. She slaps me with a $350 fine. For what? Daring to improve my property. Her manicured nails tap the paper like a villain's countdown. I'm no criminal. I'm an electrician who fixes problems. But this is war. The car door slams like a judge's gavel, sealing her fate. Bethany Cromwell messed with the wrong guy, and I made her regret it in ways she'll never forget. What would you do if your HOA turned your dream into a nightmare? Share your craziest HOA horror story and where you're tuning in from. I bet there's a power-tripping Karen in your hood. Let me paint you the picture of how this whole mess started. My name's Jake Morrison, and 6 months ago I was just another divorced dad trying to figure out life after a 15-year marriage imploded. At 45, I found myself house hunting with 2 priorities. Somewhere my kids Emma and Tyler could feel at home every other weekend, and a place where I could work with my hands again. Something my corporate lawyer ex-wife never appreciated about this blue-collar electrician. That's how I discovered this fixer-upper on Willowbrook Estates. 2 acres, mostly woods, with this gorgeous creek running right through my backyard. The house needed work, but that creek, you could hear it bubbling over smooth rocks from the back porch, smell the fresh earth after rain. It sounded like freedom tastes. Emma's 12, Tyler's 9, and within minutes of their first visit, they'd claimed the massive oak tree across the creek as perfect tree fort territory. Problem was, getting there meant hopping slippery rocks or wading through water that gets surprisingly deep. As a dad and an electrician who's seen what happens when people cut safety corners, I knew we needed a proper bridge. 3 September weekends, $800 of cedar planks, galvanized bolts, and concrete footings. The rough lumber felt therapeutic under my calloused hands, reminded me why I chose the trades over cubicle life. Every measurement, every bolt I cranked tight was better therapy than the marriage counselor we could never afford. The bridge turned out perfect. 12 feet long, 3 feet wide, railings that could handle a grown man's weight. Added non-slip treads because safety isn't negotiable. Tyler immediately declared it the coolest bridge in the universe, and Emma actually helped me stain the railings. First time she'd voluntarily put her phone down in months. Then, Bethany Cromwell entered my world like a hurricane in designer athleisure. Picture this, 52, married to Dr. Richard Cromwell, who owns half the county's dental practices. Lives in our neighborhood's crown jewel circular driveway, lawn that looks professionally manicured twice weekly. Been HOA president for 6 years, which makes her the self-appointed empress of Willowbrook Estates. You've seen her type. Black Mercedes SUV with HOA Prez vanity plates, cruising our streets at exactly 25 mph like she's conducting royal inspections. Neighbors whisper she keeps an actual ruler for measuring grass height, but honestly, I don't think it's a joke. This woman once called an emergency meeting because someone's mailbox was 2 inches too tall. 2 inches. Her specialty is maintaining community standards, which translates to timing sprinkler systems, documenting house paint shades, and making life miserable for anyone who doesn't fit her country club vision. Here's the kicker. Bethany has a sixth sense for targeting people she considers beneath the neighborhood's caliber. Single mothers, elderly folks on fixed incomes, divorced tradesmen who drive pickup trucks instead of luxury SUVs. She's surgical about it, never says anything outright discriminatory, too smart for that. Just finds creative, bureaucratic ways to squeeze out anyone who doesn't belong to her country club social circle. The smell of diesel from my F-150 probably triggered her before I even finished moving in. And her husband? Poor Dr. Cromwell has perfected the art of strategic invisibility. You'll see him washing his BMW in the driveway, but the moment Bethany starts her HOA enforcement rounds, that man vanishes faster than free donuts at a construction site. So there I was that crisp October morning, watching my kids safely cross to their tree fort kingdom, thinking maybe life after divorce wasn't so bad. The autumn air carried that perfect mix of wood smoke and creek water. My coffee was still steaming in my favorite mug. That's when I heard expensive tires crunching on my gravel driveway. Bethany stepped out wearing yoga pants that cost more than most families' weekly groceries, clipboard already in hand, sporting that predatory smile that said someone's day was about to get ruined, mine specifically. So Bethany struts across my lawn like she owns it, heels clicking on my flagstone walkway with the precision of a military march. She's got this fake smile plastered on her face. You know the one, where the mouth moves, but the eyes stay dead as winter. Her clipboard's clutched against her chest like some kind of bureaucratic weapon. "Good morning, Mr. Morrison," she chirps, pronouncing my name like it's a disease. "I trust you're enjoying your new home in our lovely community." The way she emphasizes our community makes my jaw clench, like I'm some temporary squatter instead of a property owner who pays the same HOA fees as everyone else. Morning. I keep it simple. Years of dealing with hostile customers taught me that sometimes silence is your best defense. But Bethany's just getting started. She flips through papers with theatrical precision, making sure I see official letterhead and important-looking stamps. The sharp scent of her expensive perfume cuts through the morning air like a chemical warning. "I'm afraid there's been a compliance issue regarding your recent construction project." She gestures toward my bridge like she's identifying a crime scene. "This structure was erected without proper architectural approval from the Homeowners Association Board." My blood pressure starts climbing. "Ma'am, that bridge is entirely on my property. I checked the deed twice before building anything." "That may be," her voice drips condescension, "but aesthetic modifications visible from neighboring properties require advance written permission. We maintain these standards to protect everyone's property values." Now here's where my electrician training kicked in. See, when you work commercial jobs, you learn to read building codes inside and out because one missed regulation can cost thousands. So the first thing I did after buying this house was download every HOA document from the county clerk's website, all public record, by the way, something most homeowners never realize they can access for free. While she's lecturing me, I notice Mrs. Patterson from 3 houses down walking her ancient beagle. Instead of her usual route, she's lingering by my mailbox, letting the dog sniff around while really eavesdropping on every word. Smart woman, 37 years of teaching elementary school gives you excellent radar for detecting bullies. Bethany slides a crisp envelope from her clipboard. "I'm issuing a notice of violation requiring immediate remediation of this unauthorized structure. Initial fine is $350, with $50 daily until compliance." Compliance meaning what exactly? Bridge removal, naturally, plus submission of proper applications for any future modifications which require unanimous board vote. The morning breeze suddenly carries the metallic taste of injustice. This woman seriously wants me to destroy a safety feature I built for my own children on my own property. "I'd like to see the specific regulation you're citing." For just a heartbeat, Bethany's smile cracks. "The relevant documentation is available through proper channels. You'll need to submit a formal request." That's when Mrs. Patterson makes her move. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but admire your beautiful bridge, Jake. My grandchildren would love something like that for their visits." Bethany's head whips toward her like a hawk spotting prey. "Eleanor, I'm conducting official HOA business." "Oh, I know, dear. Just recognizing quality craftsmanship." Mrs. Patterson winks at me. "My late husband Harold built bridges for the county 23 years. He would have appreciated those professional-grade railings and proper concrete footings. Here's my first surprise ally, someone who actually understands construction standards and isn't intimidated by Bethany's clipboard theater." "Mrs. Patterson," Bethany says through clenched teeth, "I'm sure you understand the importance of maintaining community aesthetic standards." "Absolutely. That's why I've always wondered about that lovely gazebo you installed 3 summers ago. Don't recall seeing that come up for board approval, but my memory isn't what it used to be." The temperature drops 10 degrees instantly. Bethany's clipboard trembles in her manicured grip like a leaf in a hurricane. "That was entirely different circumstances," she stammers. "I'm sure it was, dear." Mrs. Patterson's innocent smile could melt butter. "Come along, Buster." As she walks away, the pieces click together. Mrs. Patterson isn't just being neighborly. She's been documenting Bethany's selective enforcement for years, waiting for the right moment to push back. My bridge just became her opening move. Bethany thrust the violation notice toward me like serving legal papers. 7 days to begin remediation, Mr. Morrison. Failure to comply results in escalating fines and potential legal action. She click-clacks back to her Mercedes, but I can see uncertainty creeping into her posture. The confident Queen of Suburbia swagger has developed a definite wobble. Standing there holding that ridiculous fine, breathing in the crisp autumn air mixed with creek water and fresh-cut grass, I realize something important. This isn't about my bridge at all. This is about control, territory, and making sure the blue-collar newcomer knows his place in Bethany's carefully orchestrated social hierarchy. Well, she just picked the wrong electrician to intimidate. Time to show her what happens when you mess with someone who actually reads the fine print. Monday morning, I'm in my workshop sharpening my circular saw blade when I hear a truck rumbling up my driveway. The metallic screech of the blade against the grinding wheel stops as I spot a white city vehicle with building department painted on the side. My coffee goes cold in my hand watching a guy in a hard hat climb out, clipboard ready. Seems like everyone in authority carries those damn things. This is Ray Kowalski, been the county building inspector for 15 years. I know his reputation from job sites. Fair, thorough, doesn't suffer fools. What I don't know is why he's here examining my perfectly legal bridge with genuine confusion written across his weathered face. "Morning," I call out, wiping sawdust off my hands with an old rag. "Something I can help you with?" Ray scratches his gray beard, looking genuinely puzzled. "Got a complaint about an unsafe structure on your property. Someone claims you built a bridge without proper permits." He gestures toward my handiwork spanning the creek. "Mind if I take a look?" "Be my guest. Built her solid." While Ray examines the footings and tests the railings, I hear that familiar Mercedes engine purring up my driveway. Perfect timing as always. Bethany emerges wearing mint green yoga pants. Apparently she has them in every color, carrying the same predatory clipboard energy. "Inspector," she calls out, her voice dripping false concern. "Thank you so much for responding quickly to my public safety report." Ray straightens up, and I catch something telling in his expression. The look of a man who's dealt with this particular homeowner before. "Ma'am, this bridge is actually built to higher standards than most residential decks in the county. The satisfaction of watching Bethany's face contort is worth every penny of that ridiculous fine." Her mouth opens and closes like a bass gasping in a bucket. "But surely," she stammers, "a structure of this magnitude requires city permits and engineering approval?" Ray chuckles, the sound mixing with the creek babbling below. "Not for a private property bridge under 10 feet span. This falls well within homeowner construction rights." He runs his hand along my railings, nodding approvingly. "Whoever built this knows their business. Proper concrete footings, galvanized hardware, even added erosion control I don't usually see. You know what most homeowners never learn? Building codes exist to protect you, not restrict you. During my divorce, while my lawyer was billing me $300 an hour, I spent nights researching municipal construction guidelines online. All free public information. Most cities clearly define minor construction that doesn't require permits. A simple residential bridge under certain specifications falls into that sweet spot, but you have to know where to look. Bethany's designer heels sink into my lawn as she shifts weight, clearly grasping for any angle to maintain control. "Inspector Kowalski, I've been fielding daily complaints from concerned neighbors about this unauthorized structure disrupting our aesthetic standards." "Daily complaints?" Ray raises an eyebrow, flipping through his notepad. "Funny, because you've called my office 14 times in the past week about this property alone." The autumn air suddenly tastes like vindication mixed with Bethany's expensive desperation perfume. 14 calls. This woman has been harassing the building department like her personal enforcement army. "I was ensuring proper protocols were followed," she says, voice climbing toward hysteria. Ray closes his notepad with authority. "Protocols have been followed. Bridge is safe, legal, and honestly, impressive work." He turns to me with genuine respect. "You do this professionally?" "Electrician, but I've done construction since I was 16. "Shows. What did you use for the foundation mix?" While Ray and I discuss concrete ratios and drainage techniques, Bethany stands there like a kid excluded from adult conversation. Her carefully applied makeup can't hide the flush of humiliation creeping up her neck like a rash. "Gentlemen," she interrupts, voice sharp enough to etch glass, "there's still the matter of HOA compliance and community standards." Ray delivers the knockout punch with bureaucratic precision. "Ma'am, HOA rules can't supersede county building regulations or constitutional property rights. This gentleman built on his own land with his own materials to legal standards. That's between him and his property deed." Bethany goes nuclear. "I'll be filing a formal complaint with your supervisor about this inadequate inspection." Ray's seen every variety of neighborhood tyrant in 15 years. His response carries the calm authority of someone who actually knows what they're talking about. "You're welcome to try. My supervisor's Tom Rodriguez, available Tuesdays and Thursdays." He hands me his card. "Beautiful work, Jake. Wish more people took this kind of care." As the city truck disappears, Bethany and I face each other across my lawn like gunfighters at high noon. Except the county's top expert just declared one of our weapons completely harmless. Standing there breathing the crisp morning air mixed with the sweet scent of victory, I realized something game-changing. Bethany's entire operation runs on intimidation and ignorance, banking on people not knowing their actual rights. This electrician just got educated, and the balance of power is about to shift permanently. Tuesday evening, I'm helping Tyler with his math homework when my phone explodes with notifications. Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. My name is suddenly viral for all the wrong reasons. The distinctive ringtone of my ex-wife Sarah makes my stomach drop, since we only communicate about custody schedules these days. Jake, what the hell is this social media circus? Some woman is posting pictures of your bridge like you built a nuclear reactor in your backyard. I pull up Facebook and there it is. Willowbrook Community Standards. A group created yesterday by Queen Bethany herself. The cover photo shows my bridge with inflammatory text. Unauthorized construction destroying our beautiful neighborhood, share to protect property values. The sharp scent of Tyler's spilled chocolate milk fills my nostrils as I scroll through post after post of manufactured outrage. Bethany's tagged every homeowner she can find, shared photos from multiple angles, and written essays about dangerous precedents and declining standards. Dad, you're crushing my pencil, Tyler observes with 9-year-old wisdom. I force my grip to relax and keep reading. Bethany's country club army has descended with fake fury. Absolutely unacceptable, writes Patricia Thornfield, someone I've never seen in our neighborhood. This eyesore will tank everyone's home values, adds Margaret Sycamore, another mystery resident with suspiciously strong opinions about my carpentry skills. But here's where social media becomes a double-edged sword, something Bethany apparently never considered. The comments section turns into a war zone, and she's losing spectacularly. Tom Rodriguez from down the street fires back. Are you serious? That bridge is better constructed than most decks in this subdivision. My kids love crossing it safely. Mrs. Patterson weighs in with devastating politeness. Such beautiful craftsmanship. Reminds me of the covered bridges my late husband built for the county engineering department. The knockout punch comes from Mike Riley, a local contractor. I've built residential structures for 20 years. This bridge has superior joinery and foundation work compared to 90% of what I see. Whoever's complaining doesn't recognize quality construction. Most surprisingly, my ex-wife Sarah, who used to complain about every weekend project during our marriage, posts a public defense. Jake built this for our children's safety. It's gorgeous and functional. Maybe focus on actual neighborhood problems instead of manufactured drama. Here's what I learned during my brutal divorce. Document everything digital because people hang themselves with their own words online. Social media posts create permanent evidence of harassment patterns, and screenshots are admissible in court proceedings. Wednesday morning brings escalation number 2. I'm loading electrical supplies into my truck when that familiar Mercedes purrs up my driveway carrying unwelcome cargo. Bethany emerges with backup, a thin, nervous man in an expensive suit who keeps adjusting his tie like it's a noose. The morning air carries the smoky scent of burning leaves and his obvious discomfort at being dragged into neighborhood warfare. Mr. Morrison, Bethany announces with theatrical authority. Meet my brother-in-law David Cromwell, attorney at law. He's here to discuss your continued non-compliance. David looks like he'd rather defend serial killers than deal with HOA drama. His whole demeanor screams family obligation, not legal conviction. Mr. Morrison, David begins, reading from prepared notes with zero enthusiasm. My client has directed me to inform you that continued violations may result in legal action, including potential property liens. I've tangled with enough lawyers to spot one who doesn't believe his case. David's body language broadcasts reluctance louder than a construction site air horn. What specific statute are you citing for this threat? I ask, calmly. David shuffles papers nervously. The HOA covenant clearly establishes... Have you verified this HOA's current legal standing with the state? I interrupt. The blood drains from David's face faster than water through a broken dam. That's Legal Ethics 101. Verify your client's authority before making threats. Something he obviously skipped. Well, we assumed. David stammers like a first-year law student caught unprepared. During Monday's sleepless night researching HOA law online, I discovered something crucial. Homeowner associations must maintain corporate status through annual state filings to possess legal enforcement authority. It's public information, accessible to anyone with internet access, but most people never think to check. Perhaps, David says carefully, his legal training finally engaging, we should verify current documentation before proceeding. Bethany's Botoxed face flushes crimson. David, I specifically instructed you to... Bethany, we need to discuss this privately. David's voice carries newfound authority as he realizes he's been walking through a malpractice minefield. They retreat to the Mercedes for what sounds like a spectacular argument. Even with windows closed, Bethany's voice pierces the autumn morning like a chainsaw. While they're arguing, I pull out my phone and make the call that changes everything. The State Business Registration Office answers on the second ring. Verifying an HOA's corporate status takes exactly 3 minutes and costs nothing. The cheerful clerk types Willowbrook Estates HOA into her database while I listen to the creek bubbling peacefully behind me. Her words taste sweeter than my morning coffee. I'm sorry, sir, but that organization's corporate status lapsed 18 months ago due to unpaid annual fees. 18 months. Every fine, every threat, every intimidation tactic. Legally meaningless. Bethany just declared war with expired ammunition. That phone call to the state office hits me like voltage through a wet wire. I'm standing in my driveway, watching Bethany and her lawyer brother-in-law argue through Mercedes windows, when the full scope of this revelation crashes over me like ice water. 18 months. The HOA's been legally dead for 18 months. Every fine collected, every threat issued, every intimidation tactic deployed, all under expired authority that carries as much legal weight as a Halloween costume. But here's what makes my electrician's brain start connecting dangerous circuits. If the HOA has no legal standing, where exactly have those violation fees been deposited? I call back immediately, requesting financial filing records. Another 3 minutes, another bombshell. Willowbrook Estates HOA hasn't filed required annual reports for 2 years. In legal terms, this organization has been operating as a financial ghost. The crisp October air suddenly tastes like institutional corruption mixed with autumn smoke as implications cascade through my mind. Misses. Patterson mentioned other fines. Tom Rodriguez got hit for his unauthorized plantings. If Bethany's collecting money under fraudulent authority, we're not discussing HOA overreach. We're talking criminal embezzlement. My phone buzzes with salvation in text form. Jake, stop by this evening. I have documents you'd find very interesting. Eleanor Patterson. 3 hours later, I'm sitting in Mrs. Patterson's living room that smells like fresh-baked snickerdoodles and carefully preserved evidence. She slides a manila folder across her coffee table with the deliberate precision of someone who taught consequence accountability to children for 37 years. I've been documenting Bethany's activities for 2 years, she says quietly, her voice carrying the authority of a retired educator who recognizes systematic bullying. My Herald always said keep good records when something stinks. The folder's contents make my hands shake with controlled fury. Photocopied violation notices, canceled checks, handwritten ledgers tracking every neighborhood fine cross-referenced with actual board meeting minutes that prove most violations were never voted on. Notice the pattern, she says, pointing to meticulous documentation. Single mothers, elderly residents, minorities, divorced homeowners. Bethany systematically targets anyone she considers beneath neighborhood standards. The numbers are devastating. $12,000 extorted over 18 months. Sarah Mitchell paid $400 because her kid's trampoline was visible from common areas. Elderly Robert Riley got hit for $200 for wrong mulch color. Young Hispanic family paid $600 for parking their work van in their own driveway. Here's what most homeowners never realize. You can request HOA financial records through your state's corporate filing system. It's public information, completely free, but requires knowing where to look and what questions to ask. Why didn't anyone fight back? I ask. Bethany's masterful at making people feel like they're the troublemakers, Mrs. Patterson explains, her teacher instincts recognizing classic bully psychology. Pay quickly, avoid confrontation, hope she moves on to someone else. She opens another folder section revealing bank statements and deposit records. But Harold taught me to follow money trails, especially when authority figures start collecting cash. The smoking gun materializes in black and white. Every HOA fine deposited into a personal checking account Bethany opened using the expired corporate registration. Not the legitimate HOA operating fund, her private slush fund camouflaged with official-sounding paperwork. The metallic taste of pure rage mixes with the lingering sweetness of cookies as I process systematic fraud hiding behind suburban respectability. Bethany Cromwell hasn't been power tripping. She's been running a protection racket using fake authority and designer intimidation. Mrs. Patterson, you understand what this evidence represents? Her smile carries the satisfaction of a veteran educator finally cornering the classroom sociopath. Absolutely. The question becomes, what are you planning to do with it? Sitting there surrounded by documented proof, breathing air thick with justice and oatmeal cookie comfort, I realized this transcended my bridge the moment Bethany issued her first fraudulent fine. This is about protecting an entire community from a predator hiding behind expired paperwork and yoga pants authority. Time to show our HOA queen what happens when you mess with someone who actually reads the fine print. Thursday morning, I'm drinking coffee that tastes like liquid determination when I create a group text that will change everything. Emergency meeting tonight, 7 p.m., my place. Bring any HOA paperwork you have. What I discovered will blow your mind. By evening, my living room transforms into a war room planning the D-Day of suburban justice. The coffee table disappears under documents, laptops, and the kind of righteous fury that builds when decent people discover they've been systematically conned. Sarah Mitchell arrives first, clutching papers and looking like she hasn't slept since her last 12-hour ER shift. She's raising 2 kids alone after her husband ran off with his dental hygienist, working double shifts while Bethany nickeled and dimed her with bogus fines. The metallic smell of hospital disinfectant still clings to her scrubs. I kept everything, she says, spreading violation notices across my table. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't prove it. Tom Rodriguez shows up with his wife Maria, carrying boxes that smell like garage storage and suppressed anger. Tom's the neighborhood's unofficial landscaping artist, 15 years building everyone's gardens, only to get hammered with fines for planting native wildflowers Bethany deemed aesthetically inappropriate. Mrs. Patterson arrives at exactly 7, carrying a briefcase that could prosecute war crimes. This woman's documentation skills would make federal investigators weep with professional envy. Before we start, I announce, everyone needs to understand what we're really fighting. I lay out the state phone call, the lapsed corporate status, the fraudulent bank accounts. Watch their faces cycle through disbelief, rage, and that specific fury that comes from realizing someone you trusted has been robbing you blind. Every fine we paid was straight up theft? Maria asks, her voice sharp enough to etch glass. Legally speaking, absolutely. Bethany's been running a protection racket with expired paperwork and designer intimidation. The room fills with paper rustling and creative cursing in multiple languages as everyone processes the scope of suburban racketeering. Sarah calculates on her phone. $400 for the trampoline plus $50 daily until I moved it. Another $600, nearly a grand total from someone making $30,000 a year. Tom's jaw muscles work overtime. $800 for wildflowers plus replanting costs. Over $2,000 stolen from our family budget. Here's what most homeowners never learn. State consumer protection laws include specific provisions for HOA fraud that carry felony penalties. More importantly, they mandate victim compensation, including recovered funds plus punitive damages. The secret is documenting systematic illegal activity and coordinating multiple victims filing simultaneous complaints. Mrs. Patterson opens her briefcase like revealing nuclear launch codes. I've documented 14 households receiving fraudulent fines over 18 months. Total theft exceeds $12,000. The air tastes like brewing justice mixed with collective determination as we assign battle stations. Sarah contacts other single mothers. Bethany's targeting pattern becomes obvious once you recognize the discrimination. Tom and Maria reach Hispanic families hit with cultural aesthetic violations. Mrs. Patterson handles elderly residents on fixed incomes. My mission? Build the legal case and coordinate with law enforcement. I pull up the Attorney General's website, navigating to their fraud division. Most people don't realize filing AG complaints is free, done online, and triggers automatic investigation when multiple victims report identical fraud patterns. Maria reads over my shoulder. They want bank records, false claim documentation, organized fraud evidence. We have everything. Better than that, Mrs. Patterson adds with chessmaster satisfaction. I have photographs of Bethany's unapproved house modifications, plus her personal financial records Harold obtained through county connections before he passed. The coffee's gone cold, but community solidarity provides warmth that no beverage can match. These aren't just neighbors. They're soldiers in a war against systematic bullying disguised as suburban civility. I grab a legal pad, feeling the rough texture of paper under my electrician's calluses. Timeline. Tomorrow we file coordinated complaints with Attorney General, Better Business Bureau, and Police Fraud Division. Saturday, registered letters documenting Bethany's crimes go to every household. Sunday, neighborhood meeting to vote out the fraud and elect legitimate leadership. The crisp sound of papers shuffling mixes with the determined silence of people who finally found their weapon against institutional intimidation. Here's the nuclear option, I continue, pulling out my phone. I'm also calling Channel 7's investigative reporter. Nothing destroys suburban tyrants faster than public humiliation on evening news. Tom raises his mug in salute. What happens Monday morning? The taste of impending victory mingles with fresh brewed justice as I smile for the first time in weeks. Outside, the October wind rattles windows like nature applauding our rebellion. Monday morning, Bethany Cromwell wakes up to discover the difference between bullying individuals and declaring war on people who actually read the fine print. Mrs. Patterson's eyes gleam with 37 years of teacher wisdom. Class dismissed, Bethany. Time for your final exam. Friday morning, I'm loading wire spools into my truck when my boss Dave calls with that tone every contractor dreads. The crisp smell of diesel exhaust mixes with impending dread as his Brooklyn accent cuts through the phone static. Jake, got a bizarre call yesterday. Some woman claiming you're building death traps and my company should control our liability exposure better. What kind of suburban nonsense you mixed up in? Dave's been running electrical contracting for 23 years, survived every variety of customer complaint, but this one has him genuinely baffled. She actually suggested I fire you for insurance reasons, he continues, voice thick with indignation. Told her she could take her insurance concerns and stuff them in a light socket. Your work's always been solid, Jake. Don't let some yoga pants dictator mess with your head. That's Bethany's opening move in what becomes the longest weekend of suburban psychological warfare imaginable. Saturday brings escalation level 2. I'm in my workshop sharpening router bits when Emma calls, sobbing so hard her words blur together like watercolors in rain. Daddy, there's a scary lady at school asking about our house. She told Mrs. Rodriguez you might be dangerous because you build things without permission. The metallic scent of fresh ground steel suddenly tastes like pure parental fury. Bethany has crossed from attacking me to potentially terrorizing my children. This isn't HOA enforcement. It's weaponized harassment using kids as psychological ammunition. I drive straight to Riverside Elementary, knuckles white on the steering wheel, jaw muscles working overtime. Principal Martinez meets me in her office, looking as confused as I feel homicidal. Mr. Morrison, we take student safety seriously, but this morning's incident seemed politically motivated. What exactly happened? A woman claiming to represent your neighborhood association asked about unsafe conditions affecting Emma and Tyler's welfare. When pressed for specifics, she couldn't articulate actual safety concerns. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead like angry hornets as I process Bethany's latest attack vector. She's trying to weaponize school administration and potentially child services using my divorce vulnerabilities as nuclear ammunition. But here's my mini twist moment. Principal Martinez hands me a business card with a knowing look. Mr. Morrison, you should know this same woman contacted 3 other schools in our district yesterday, asking about different families. Our district social worker flagged it as potentially harassing behavior. The game just changed. Bethany's not just targeting me. She's been systematically attacking multiple families, leaving a documented trail of vindictive behavior across the entire school system. Sunday morning delivers the nuclear option. I'm making pancakes for the kids when my phone rings with an unknown number. The voice makes my coffee taste like liquid betrayal. Mr. Morrison, Detective Sarah Williams, Child Protective Services. We received a report about potentially unsafe living conditions involving minor children. I'll need to schedule a home inspection. Through my kitchen window, Bethany's Mercedes sits parked across the street like a surveillance vehicle. Her silhouette behind tinted glass resembles a suburban stalker conducting reconnaissance operations. Can you specify the nature of allegations? Unauthorized construction creating hazardous conditions, concerns about parental supervision during custodial visits. Emma and Tyler munch pancakes at my table, blissfully unaware their weekend sanctuary is under bureaucratic assault. The maple syrup smells sickeningly sweet as I realize Bethany's targeting not just my property rights, but my fundamental relationship with my own children. I'd welcome an inspection. My home exceeds all safety standards. I'm certain it does, Mr. Morrison. Unfortunately, we investigate all reports regardless of their apparent motivation. That pause speaks volumes. Detective Williams recognizes vindictive neighbor complaints, understands the pattern, but protocol demands investigation. After scheduling Tuesday's inspection, I walk outside and confront Bethany's Mercedes directly. She rolls down her window with theatrical innocence, like she's been enjoying autumn scenery instead of stalking my family. Gorgeous morning, isn't it, Mr. Morrison? Bethany, you've now targeted my employer, my children's school, and Child Protective Services in your personal crusade over a legal bridge on my own property. Her smile carries all the warmth of refrigerated morgue air. I simply prioritize community standards and child welfare. If you're hiding nothing, these investigations shouldn't worry you. The October breeze carries the scent of decomposing leaves and institutional intimidation as I realize something crucial. Bethany's escalated beyond rational HOA enforcement into systematic destruction campaign. She wants to eliminate my livelihood, my parental rights, and my children's emotional security. But standing there breathing crisp autumn air mixed with her desperation and my crystallizing resolve, I remember something Dave taught me about electrical systems. When circuits overload from too much power demand, they don't just dim the lights, they burn down the entire house. Bethany Cromwell just overloaded her credibility circuit by threatening my kids. Tuesday's scheduled revelations can't arrive fast enough. Some mistakes can't be undone, some lines can't be uncrossed, and some suburban tyrants are about to discover what happens when you declare total war against someone who's already lost everything that matters except his children's safety. Monday afternoon, I'm reviewing electrical blueprints when my phone explodes with Bethany's group text to the entire neighborhood. Emergency HOA meeting tonight, 7 p.m. Rogue homeowner threatening community safety. Your property values are at stake. The taste of manufactured panic fills my mouth like copper pennies as I screenshot her desperation-fueled message. This woman's about to commit political suicide, and she's too blinded by rage to see the cliff approaching. By 6:30, I'm parked across from the community center watching neighbors file in, looking more confused than concerned. The building carries that institutional smell of burnt coffee and floor wax that reminds me of high school detention. I slip through the back entrance, choosing a seat where I can observe Bethany's final performance without being immediately spotted. She's transformed tonight's meeting into full theatrical production. Navy blazer over matching athletic wear that probably costs more than most people's car payments, hairstyled like she's running for suburban mayor. Her brother-in-law David sits front row looking like a man attending his own execution. The room fills with nervous energy as neighbors clutch printed copies of Bethany's hysterical text message. Most people seem genuinely puzzled about what emergency supposedly requires their immediate attention on a Monday night. Thank you for responding to this urgent community crisis, Bethany begins, her voice trembling with artificial authority. We're addressing a serious threat to neighborhood safety and property values. She clicks a remote, projecting my bridge onto the screen like evidence in a murder trial. But here's where desperation drives her over the edge. She's digitally manipulated the photo, adding fake warning signs and danger symbols to make my perfectly safe bridge resemble a toxic waste site. The sharp scent of community rebellion fills the air as neighbors recognize obvious Photoshop fraud when they see it. Someone in the back row actually snickers. This unauthorized structure represents unchecked individual selfishness destroying our collective investments, Bethany declares with the dramatic flair of someone auditioning for community theater. Tom Rodriguez raises his hand. Bethany, I've used that bridge dozens of times. It's safer than the sidewalks on Maple Street. You're not qualified to assess structural integrity, she snaps, her composure cracking like old paint. Mrs. Patterson delivers surgical precision. Speaking of qualifications, Bethany, could you refresh everyone's memory about your engineering credentials? The temperature drops 10 degrees as neighbors realize their HOA dictator's expertise consists entirely of HGTV marathons and Pinterest boards. Bethany pivots desperately. This isn't about credentials. It's about one individual refusing to respect standards protecting everyone's investments. Sarah Mitchell stands up, her hospital scrubs still carrying the antiseptic smell of 12-hour shifts saving lives. My kids love that bridge. You're suggesting we remove a safety feature that prevents them from falling in the creek? Here's where Bethany commits character assassination. Sarah, I understand you have a personal relationship with Mr. Morrison's situation, but we can't let emotional attachments override safety. The implication that Sarah's support stems from inappropriate personal involvement rather than genuine concern lands like a napalm strike across the room's collective dignity. Even people who don't know Sarah recognize vindictive slander when they hear it. Time for my silent preparation to pay dividends. I stand slowly, letting the room register my presence before speaking. Since we're discussing community standards, I announce with the calm authority of someone holding nuclear weapons, everyone should know about my conversations with the State Attorney General's office today. Bethany's face goes chalk white. David looks like he's swallowed a live grenade. The room fills with that electric silence preceding either fireworks or natural disasters. Turns out, when multiple residents file coordinated fraud complaints against the same individual, state investigators respond very quickly. I pull out my phone, reading from official correspondence. Investigation case number 2024 HOA 1847 has been opened regarding allegations of embezzlement, fraud, and abuse of expired corporate authority by Willowbrook Estates HOA leadership. The metallic taste of justice mixes with collective shocked silence as neighbors process the scope of what they're hearing. $12,000 in illegal fines, 18 months of fraudulent authority. Systematic targeting of vulnerable residents like some suburban protection racket. Bethany attempts final desperate deflection. This vindictive retaliation exemplifies exactly why we need stronger community guidelines. Mrs. Patterson rises with the dignified authority of someone who spent 37 years teaching consequences. Bethany, dear, the only guideline being violated is the principle that stealing from your neighbors isn't community service. The room erupts into chaos that topples dictatorships and ends political careers. Voices rise, chairs scrape, accusations fly like shrapnel. I can practically hear the sound of Bethany's carefully constructed authority empire crumbling like a sandcastle in a tsunami. Through the cacophony, I catch David whispering urgently into his phone, probably calling his malpractice insurance carrier. Tomorrow's annual meeting showdown is going to be legendary. Standing here breathing air thick with community uprising and Bethany's spectacular downfall, I realize something profound. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's simply letting tyrants destroy themselves with their own desperation. Tuesday evening, the Willowbrook Community Center parking lot looks like Black Friday at Best Buy. Cars packed in every available space, neighbors walking in clusters discussing the previous night's explosive revelations, and news van from Channel 7 parked prominently near the main entrance with reporter Jessica Riley adjusting her microphone. I arrive 15 minutes early, wearing my best button-down shirt and carrying a briefcase that contains 18 months of documented evidence. The autumn air tastes like anticipation, mixed with the distant scent of someone's backyard fire pit, as I approach the building where Bethany's reign is about to end. Inside, the main meeting room has been transformed into something resembling a courtroom. Bethany sits at a table near the front, flanked by David, who keeps nervously shuffling legal documents like he's playing the world's worst poker hand. Her usual designer confidence has been replaced by the hollow-eyed look of someone who spent the night Googling embezzlement penalties and prison sentences for HOA fraud. The room fills rapidly with the largest HOA meeting attendance in neighborhood history. 47 households represented, according to Mrs. Patterson's precise count. People are literally standing along the walls because we've run out of chairs. The air buzzes with the electric energy of a community finally ready to confront its suburban dictator. Sheriff's Deputy Martinez sits in the back corner, officially here for crowd control, but really positioned to serve legal papers if necessary. His presence adds an ominous weight to the proceedings that makes Bethany keep glancing nervously over her shoulder. Channel 7's camera operator sets up discreetly in the side aisle while Jessica Riley reviews her notes. This story is about to become tomorrow night's lead segment. Suburban HOA president accused of embezzling thousands from neighbors. At exactly 7 p.m., Bethany calls the meeting to order with a voice that cracks like adolescent vocal cords. Welcome to the annual Willowbrook Estates homeowners meeting. Tonight we'll address various concerns that have been raised about community governance. The metallic taste of justice fills my mouth as I stand and request recognition under Robert's Rules of Order. Madam President, I move to address the elephant in the room before proceeding with standard business. Bethany's knuckles go white, gripping her gavel. Mr. Morrison will follow the established agenda. The established agenda, Mrs. Patterson interrupts with 37 years of classroom authority. Assumes we have a legitimate HOA conducting legal business. Recent discoveries suggest otherwise. Tom Rodriguez stands up holding a thick folder. I second Jake's motion. This community deserves answers about where our money went. The room erupts in supporting voices as Bethany's carefully planned meeting dissolves into democratic chaos. Her gavel banging sounds like a woodpecker attacking a steel drum, lots of noise, zero effect. I walk to the front of the room, opening my briefcase with deliberate ceremony. The sound of paper rustling fills the sudden silence as 47 households lean forward to hear what comes next. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to share will fundamentally change how you view HOA governance and your own property rights. I begin with the phone call to the state office explaining how Willowbrook Estates HOA lost its legal status 18 months ago. Watch faces cycle through disbelief, anger, and the dawning realization that they've been systematically defrauded. Every fine collected, every threat issued, every intimidation tactic employed since March 2023 has been conducted under expired authority with no legal standing whatsoever. Bethany attempts interruption. These technical details don't invalidate our community standards. Technical details like embezzlement, I counter, pulling out bank statements. Over $12,000 collected through fraudulent fines and deposited into personal accounts rather than legitimate HOA funds. The room's temperature seems to drop 20 degrees as I display Mrs. Patterson's meticulous documentation. Each violation notice cross-referenced with board meeting minutes showing no votes taken. Each fine payment tracked to Bethany's personal checking account. Each targeted household revealing a pattern of discrimination against single parents, elderly residents, and minorities. Sarah Mitchell stands up, her voice carrying the authority of someone who saves lives professionally. Bethany stole nearly $1,000 from my family during the same month I was choosing between groceries and my daughter's asthma medication. The crowd's murmur turns ugly as other victims share their stories. Robert Riley describes losing his life savings to bogus landscaping fines. The Rodriguez family explains how aesthetic violations cost them over $2,000. That's when Jessica Riley steps forward with her microphone. Mrs. Cromwell, Channel 7 News. How do you respond to allegations that you embezzled thousands of dollars from your neighbors while operating under expired legal authority? Bethany's face goes through more color changes than a traffic light having a seizure. These allegations are completely... The State Attorney General's office confirmed today that formal criminal charges are being considered, Jessica continues relentlessly. Do you plan to return the stolen funds voluntarily? Deputy Martinez stands up from his back corner position, and the room goes silent except for the sound of Bethany's political career flatulating its final breath. Mrs. Cromwell, I have documents requiring your signature regarding the ongoing investigation. As Martinez approaches with official paperwork, the community center fills with the sweet scent of justice being served and the bitter aroma of suburban tyranny finally meeting its match. Game over. 6 months later, I'm standing on my bridge watching Emma and Tyler teach neighborhood kids how to safely cross to what's become the community's unofficial adventure playground. The wooden railings are worn smooth from countless small hands, and someone's carved Freedom Bridge into one of the support posts, apparently Tyler's contribution to local history. The immediate aftermath of that Tuesday night meeting moved faster than a short circuit through wet copper. Bethany resigned all HOA positions within 24 hours. Agreeing to repay the embezzled $12,000 through a court-supervised payment plan. Her brother-in-law David discovered that malpractice insurance doesn't cover willful participation in family fraud schemes and ended up settling his own legal exposure for a tidy sum. The best part? Channel 7's investigative series went viral, spawning copycat investigations across 3 counties. Turns out, suburban HOA fraud is more common than anyone realized, and our little neighborhood rebellion inspired dozens of communities to audit their own associations. We held new elections in December, installing Mrs. Patterson as president with term limits and transparency requirements that would make government accountants weep with joy. The first order of business was properly reincorporating the HOA with oversight committees, including non-board residents and mandatory annual financial audits. Tom Rodriguez became our treasurer, implementing digital banking with public quarterly reports. Sarah Mitchell joined the board as community safety coordinator, ensuring that actual safety concerns get addressed while preventing future harassment campaigns disguised as enforcement. The recovered embezzlement funds created something beautiful, the Willowbrook Community Improvement Fund. Every dollar Bethany stole now funds positive neighborhood enhancements. We've established an annual $1,000 scholarship for trade school or college, started a creek conservation project protecting water quality, and launched the Bridge Festival, an October celebration of community cooperation and quality craftsmanship. This year's festival drew over 200 people from surrounding neighborhoods. Local contractors set up booths demonstrating proper building techniques. Kids participated in bridge building contests using popsicle sticks and engineering principles. And food trucks lined Maple Street serving everything from Korean barbecue to authentic Mexican tamales. The smell of wood smoke from the festival bonfire mixed with autumn leaves and the sound of children laughing as they crossed my bridge carries more satisfaction than any paycheck I've ever earned. My personal healing journey exceeded all expectations. The bridge became the neighborhood's gathering spot, with property values actually increasing due to our unique community amenity. Real estate agents now market homes, specifically mentioning proximity to the famous Freedom Bridge and Community Creek area. Emma and Tyler love showing friends their dad's famous bridge, and my relationship with them has never been stronger. The divorce stress got replaced by genuine pride in standing up for what's right, even when it meant fighting institutional bullying. But the story's broader impact surprised everyone. The viral news coverage led to consulting requests from other communities facing HOA abuse. I've helped 12 neighborhoods navigate similar situations, always emphasizing the same principles. Document everything, know your rights, and never let authority figures intimidate you with fancy letterhead and fake urgency. 3 state legislatures are now considering stronger HOA oversight laws based partially on our case study. The Willowbrook model requires transparent financial reporting, prohibits unilateral enforcement actions, and establishes clear penalties for abuse of authority. As for Bethany, last I heard she moved to a condo association 2 towns over where individual expression is actively discouraged and community standards are enforced by professional management companies. Apparently she's much happier being a rule follower rather than a rule maker. Dr. Cromwell, surprisingly, seems relieved. Neighbors report seeing him actually smiling during his morning jogs, no longer glancing nervously over his shoulder for his wife's latest enforcement campaign. Standing here this evening, breathing crisp October air mixed with wood smoke and creek water, watching kids safely cross to adventures in the woods, I realize something profound about community and courage. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your neighbors isn't minding your own business, it's standing up when someone abuses their authority to hurt others. My bridge started as a simple safety project for my kids. It became a symbol of what happens when regular people refuse to be intimidated by suburban tyrants hiding behind expired paperwork and designer yoga pants. Speaking of which, if you've got your own HOA nightmare story, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your situation might be featured in my next video. And if you want more David versus Goliath justice stories like this, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happened when my neighbor tried to steal my parking spot. That story drops next week, and let's just say some people never learn their lesson about messing with electricians who actually read the fine print.
That's all for today's HOA madness. If watching justice serve itself made your day, smash that like button, share your thoughts down below, and make sure you're subscribed. More outrageous neighborhood showdowns are just around the corner.